They lowered interest rates to 46-year lows, flooded the marketplace with cheap money. Again, every time they do that, they devalue our standard of living. But they created the real estate bubble. Go out and borrow on your house. It's a piggy bank. You want to build that new addition, go on a vacation, buy a new car. It's cheap. Just go do it. They created the next bubble. That bubble burst. And, of course, they love to blame the little people, not talking about ever these leveraged buyout firms like Carlyle and Blackstone and Cerberus, on, who bought companies for virtually no money down worth tens of billions of dollars. That was where the real credit crisis happened, by the way.
And by the way, before I forget, let me bring this up. I'm sure you've seen all the news where they do stress tests on healthy banks, and the government says, no, you haven't done well, so the bank plunges, and then the government basically hands it over to Carlyle. I mean, this is just piracy.
Well, again, look who's involved with Carlyle. Look at the members of the Carlyle group. You know, it's the Bush wing of the mafia. You know, so as we look at the players, you know where the money goes. Follow the money. So now we have the bailout bubble. And this really, what we're talking about now is that, and building on what you said, now when this bubble bursts, and it's going to burst, when this one bursts, there's no way to reinflate another bubble.
This is the mega bubble? This is the fait complete, the coup de grace? This is the final bubble?
The final bubble, because now what's happened is, unlike those other bubbles, our economic superstructure has been changed, because now government has printed phantom money out of thin air, based on nothing, producing practically nothing, has taken equity positions in private enterprise with executive control and management powers over these corporations. So now when this breaks, there's nothing left to refill it. And here's the next step. With each failure, they create an even bigger failure. We are concerned that after this bubble breaks, the next crisis they create will be taking us to war. They do it all the time.
Stay there, Gerald Celente. Break that down when we get back. And by the way, what he's saying mirrors what Paul Watson wrote about 6 months ago. The RAND Corporation, this was big news in Europe, not on the news here, said we need a World War II size global crisis to be able to get us out of this, and they call it a bubble. So they're certainly doing some trends forecasting over at RAND in a very wicked way.
Have you ever thought?
This is real, folks. We have criminals in control of our nation robbing us. They are so ruthless and so cunning that they know it's going to cause rioting and revolution. They don't care. They're all buying duchies offshore. And by the way, I know quite a few billionaires. They evacuated years ago. They know what Gerald Celente knows. They know what we know. This is the court of the Crimson King. By the time this is done, a lot of blood's going to flow on the streets. And I'm not looking forward to it. And all you foolish petty tyrants that serve the system, I really feel sorry for you, because California's already going bankrupt, as Gerald predicted on the show 8-9 months ago. Gerald Celente, you were getting into the new mega bubble, a cascade of failures, starting a war. Let's get into that, because as bad as this news is, it's better to know it's coming. I mean, if I lived in a valley and somebody called me and said the dam just broke, you'll be in 20 feet of water in 10 minutes, get out of there, I would thank them that I could get to high ground. We get bitched at because the delusional public thinks, some of them, that, oh, we'll just be positive, and if we just make up it's okay, it'll be okay. They'd rather not be warned that the dam just broke upstream, Gerald.
Well, that's it. I mean, people are living on illusion. They don't want to face the reality. And of course, this is a Disney world, and people do live in it. When we're talking about the war, Alex, of course, you know, we're not saying that this is going to happen. We're saying it's likely to happen, considering the trends that are taking place. They're adding up to it. Each time, again, that's why we're talking about one bubble after the next. With each bubble, they reinflate it to a bigger bubble, to yet a bigger bubble. And then when there's nothing else left to do, they become emboldened by their failures, and they take you to war. You go throughout history, and this is historical. They do it all the time. They can no longer cover up their failures.
Well, that's what Rand Corporation says. They say World War II got us out of the Depression. We need something that big. And they look at Korea. They look at Iran. They discuss, where should we start a war? My God.
Well, what do you... It looks like at this moment, and from listening to President Obama, he's putting a lot of focus on Pakistan.
Yeah.
And we're seeing what's happening there as the war is being prosecuted. And of course, they've escalated the Afghan war, put in a new commander, and McChrystal, and it's spreading into Afghan. And there's a crisis going on over there now in the Swat Valley. Over 1 million people they're displaced. And so what happens is, this is a very logical progression. The more people you kill in foreign countries, the more they hate you, and the more they're going to want to retaliate. So what we're forecasting is there's going to be a retaliatory strike against the United States coming out of the Middle East as a result of our escalation of wars in those areas. What will happen is they'll call it terrorism rather than getting even, and they'll blame it on people that hate our liberty and freedoms, and they'll escalate it into something bigger. It's an old story, and it will be repeated, just the players will change, the lines will be almost the same.
So we're talking about encirclement of Russia, Pakistan, India, Kashmir, with Pakistan and Afghanistan escalating, North Korea out of control. You can just see all the fires all over that crescent there from Eastern Europe all the way into Southeast Asia. I mean, this is just horrifying. What's your timeline on this?
Well, again, it's very difficult to put a timeline on these because, for example, we had predicted that the crash of 2009 would have taken place already. We believed it would have happened in March, and it was right on schedule to do so. The market hit a low on March 9th. But they come up with schemes undreamed of. Who would have thought, for example, as you pointed out, that so much has changed with this country, where now we own General Motors, we're 60% owners of this company? Who would have dreamed that they would be pumping $12.8 trillion into the system?
Unbelievable. Gerald Celente, stay there. Quick break, long segment coming up. And we'll give out his website as well for everybody that wants to check it out. So get a pen and paper ready. This is the GCN Radio Network. I am Alex Jones. And again, we have 30 minutes left in this transmission. Stay with us.